Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shan with Bowfreaks Archery. Just wanted to kind of cover an item that we got in the shop here that we're starting to carry. We know a lot of people, and again, I kind of covered this in one of my previous videos, that there's a lot of people like to do their own work, whether it's fletching your own arrows, cutting your own arrows, draw boards, bow presses, and we get that. More power to you to do that. But again, I want to kind of give you my take on a couple items, or at least this specific item here today. Over the years, I've been through numerous arrow saws. I started working on my own stuff probably in the early 90s. And obviously, we opened the shop in 2010, so we've been, cutting a ton of arrows each year. And I've been through a lot of saws over the years. All of them were adequate, some probably better than others, some a lot cheaper than others. And they all had a few things that I didn't like about them. In the last one we actually went to was the Last Chance Archery Revolution saw, which is a super expensive saw in relation to other saws. So again, it was a good saw, probably above average, but it just had a few things, and one in particular that was kind of a pain on. The one thing I did like on it, I liked the water trough on it, dripping a little water on the blade, kind of keeping the dust down, which was kind of a nice feature. But the one thing that kind of irked me was the blade replacement on it. The way it worked is there's a backer piece that slides onto a barrel that has two set screws on it, and that controls where that saw blade sets. And as you tighten those two set screws down, if you don't tighten them down equally at the same ratio and get it on there perfect, it kind of sets off there, and you don't notice it at a little bit of an angle. And then you put your blade on, and then there's another a backer that comes in from the other side that actually screws down and locks that blade in place. So again, if that back piece is off a little bit, what you end up with is obviously I'm exaggerating this, but a blade that sets on an angle. So as it spins, it's kind of doing an oblong type irregular circle. It's not much, but it's enough just to be irritating, because it causes you to have to spend a little more time squaring up the shafts and taking a little more carbon off the end to kind of get a true 90 degree cut that's perfect for putting inserts in. So that was kind of the one thing that I disliked on that. So again, we've started looking around for some new saws. So I just pulled this one out of a package, and this is one that's been coming up on a lot of videos I see on Facebook or Instagram and that kind of stuff. So we wanted to bring them in. We're actually a dealer for them now, so if you need one, we can just reach out to us. We've got them available in the shop, or we can ship them. Might be able to save you a few bucks too, versus ordering online from some other places. So just want to kind of cover what all comes with this. It basically comes out of the box pre-assembled. It's going to come with an accessory kit, one of which is just an adapter to go on the back of the saw that hooks up to your shop vac, to allow you to use the shop vac to vacuum up that carbon dust as you're cutting. So that's nice. This is actually the deluxe model, so it comes with a few extra features. It's going to have an extra saw blade in here, and it's going to have some extra squaring discs in here, and we'll talk about those in a second. So that comes in here. So one of the things that I really liked about this saw, and I'm really surprised none of those saw manufacturers had kind of caught on or done this. And actually, I had a machinist make something similar to this that I actually installed on one of my old saws, which I liked how it worked. And again, I probably should have put a patent on it or something, but it's going to be really hard to tell in here. But the end of this, where it controls your length in here, and again, it's going to be hard to see on this video here, but the way it is, it's basically a knock receiver. So it's got a V shape in it. So your knock is actually going to go in and slide and kind of lock in the spot it needs to be, and then that knock receiver is actually on bearings and allows it to spin. So on other saws, the end of your arrow, whether it's the knock or you've taken the knock off and you're flat and going up against the carbon, is just sitting on a flat plate, and it's really not contained or controlled in there. So, or some of them are controlled better than others. Some of them there's no control over it. So when you think about it, if you get to walking that end of that arrow around, it's walking the other end of that arrow around, which is what's going through that saw blade. So if you're not paying it close enough attention, trying to keep that perfectly in the same spot back there, you can get an uneven cut on the other end that's actually getting cut, which again is going to lead you to more squaring at the end of the process to get that arrow where you want it, and before you put them inserts in it. So it's really easy to use. You just drop it in here, slide it in there, it drops into that knock receiver. It's kind of held in place, which is kind of nice, and then it spins perfectly. The other nice thing that does is they've got this set up so when you do that, the gauge marks on it, which are etched into this bar right here, are corresponding to actually the length of that throw to knock. So when I have a customer coming in and they want to tell me ahead of time, hey, I want these arrows and I want them cut to this length, I can say, hey, give me your throw to knock to carbon dimension, and they can measure that. I can set my gauge, and I actually can cut this before they get here, which saves a little bit of time versus me waiting to make sure we're talking about the same measurement. So again, that's a nice little process. So the other thing that's just really kind of a nice feature on this, most other saws, actually all other saws, when you put this on the end, the only contact between the end and the saw was your hand. So if you were to push down, obviously I'm going to exaggerate this, but if you were kind of pushing into that to cut that and you kind of bend it, it's flexing the front end of that arrow up again. Again, I'm exaggerating this, but it's giving you a little bit of an uneven cut, which again, if shops are doing that and then not squaring, you're not getting a good seating on that insert on the end, not being square. So what they did is they actually put a little support arm in here, and this little support arm can move back and forth depending on the length of the arrow. But when you put this in a knock receiver, it actually sets on here. So when I'm spinning this, it's keeping that arrow perfectly flat as I'm spinning that arrow and rotating it through that saw blade. Super cool feature. Makes the arrow much more square out of the gate versus having to do a lot of squaring on the backside if you have another saw that's not kind of set up the same way. So again, what you do after that is you're coming out of here. The other feature on the deluxe model that's different than the regular model from them, the deluxe model will have ceramic bearings on these rollers here. And again, these rollers are in tracks. You can move these wherever you seem fit for the length of arrow you need here. So after you've made that cut, you're just going to lay it up here, and this will show up in the video, I'm sure. That little brown piece right, if I can get to it, so you can see it right there where my finger is. That's actually a little piece of sandpaper, and again, you get a bunch of extra of those in here with the deluxe kit. So when I come out of the saw and cut an arrow, I'm going to drop it onto this thing here. I'm going to run it up against this end here, and I'm going to work it back and forth gently, and that plate's 90, so as that arrow's spinning around there, it's squaring off the end of that arrow on that piece of sandpaper, so you end up with a nice perfect 90 on the end of your arrow. Super slick system. You're not having to go to lay it over here and then grab a squaring tool and do something else. You can come out of the saw, square it, and you're done with it, which is a pretty nice little feature. The on-off button is right up here in front of the saw blade, and obviously your cord is going to hook up to this right here. They're set up with a couple mounting blocks here and an extra piece you drop in here if you want to mount it to your workbench if you've got room. If you don't, obviously you can cut arrows and then just stick this up someplace else to free up your workspace, but it's pretty simple, and the cost for these for what you get compared to say like a Last Chance is a pretty good chunk of money savings, especially for guys that are doing stuff at home. And there's a couple shops actually using these too, and we've actually got one set up in our shop that we're using, and actually moved my Last Chance out to the Edition for now, and we're going to run this for a while. I've been really pleased with it so far. It's cut much straighter with less effort, and I like these extra features on here that make it a little quicker when you're setting up an arrow. So one of the other things I do on mine, and I'm going to try to show this to you. So one of the things that I was wanting to show you on our setup here, and kind of forgive me for the mess, but down here you actually see a foot pedal. The way we've got that foot pedal set up is that we have it going to an extension cord basically that has multiple plugins, and then what we do is we have both the saw and the shop vac hooked up to that foot pedal. And the nice thing about that, instead of having to turn the saw on and then turn the shop vac on, and then when we're done, turn the saw off and the shop vac off, we actually hit the foot pedal. It turns power on for the saw and the shop vac, and then when we're done cutting, you let off the foot pedal and you're done. So that's just one other little piece that you can add to saws that I actually like a lot. Saves a little bit of time, and you're not always reaching for an on-off button on your saw and your shop vac. and they're not very expensive to add. So just another little tidbit there. But again, if you're interested in the mod saw, we've got them in stock and we can ship them. So if you need one, just shoot us a message and we can get one in the mail or stop by the shop and pick one up. Thanks for your time.